Parties are often followed by a massive hangover. You know the score. A splitting headache that just won't go away. Flimsy, grovelling excuses for the embarrassments of the night before. Perhaps a dash of nausea. Perhaps even a dash of remorse. Well, Partygate, the illegal lockdown-busting scandal that engulfed Boris Johnson's Conservative government, has now turned into a 6-month hangover from hell for the beleaguered and notably remorseless Prime Minister. And the excuses of the last remaining Boris bros are sounding increasingly desperate.
It was a work do. That's what people do at work. But it wasn't a crime, and I don't believe that it was a party.
Well, it was a crime because at least one person got fined by the police for being there, and it was a party or they wouldn't have been fined for being at an illegal party. And that's what he says about that's what people do at work. Does Desmond Swayne work in a nightclub? Well, here's his colleague, Peter Bone.
You might want it to be a party, but unless you're going to say that the Prime Minister is not telling the truth and the Met Police aren't telling the truth, it wasn't a party.
It was a party, Mr. Bone. You can only assume you don't get invited to many of them. If you did, then you might have discovered that raising a toast surrounded by 4 bottles of wine, 2 bottles of champagne and a bottle of gin very much resembles a party. Grant Shapps, the Cabinet Minister who's always wheeled out to defend the indefensible, insisted that Johnson was clearly not partying, even though he was clearly partying. And then he added this.
I think it's probably worth recalling in context that throughout this period, the Prime Minister himself had been seriously ill, had a close brush with coronavirus. He lost his mum during the period. He's dealing with the pandemic.
But he didn't lose his mum in that period. In fact, Boris Johnson's mother, Charlotte Johnson-Wall, died 10 months after the party happened. Some people are saying we should move on from all this, but we shouldn't. This scandal goes to the heart of the Prime Minister's credibility and integrity. The Times reported today that Boris Johnson suggested to civil servant Sue Gray, the very woman investigating him, that she should drop her inquiry in that secret meeting 2 weeks ago that Number 10 said was all her idea, before admitting that they'd lied about that too and it was their idea. This is the kind of behaviour that mafia bosses get up to when they're trying to intimidate investigators. The slow trickle of damning evidence has turned into a relentless torrent of sleaze. Boris Johnson has become a gigantic national headache, and increasingly it looks like the only cure will be his departure.